Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you two of the different ways that you can set up office hours now that we have Zoom available across campus, and talk a little bit about the pros and cons of both of the options that you have available. So very quickly, you can either schedule your office hour meetings in Zoom by going to this page and logging in, and I'm going to come back to the specific steps, or you can set up your office hour meetings in each of your Canvas courses by going to your Canvas course and then clicking into your Zoom account from there. And like I said, there are pros and cons to doing it either way. So which way is best for you and your students is going to be up to you and your needs for your course and the needs of your students. But I'm going to talk through exactly what the steps are in both cases so that you can see what the pros and cons are, and hopefully you'll be better able to decide which of these two options works best for you. So first, if you want to schedule office hours, you can do so in Zoom outside of your Canvas course. To do that, you can go to zoom.its.utexas.edu, and then on that page, there's a login button. When you click that login button, if you weren't already logged in, it'll prompt you to enter your EID and password, and then it'll bring you to a page that looks something like this one. Of course, you won't see all the meetings here because those are meetings that I've scheduled. But if you've already scheduled meetings, they will all show up there for you. To schedule a meeting here in Zoom, you simply click Schedule a New Meeting, and then you would fill in all of the specific meeting details. And I'm not going to go into detail about that because I want to focus more on the things specific to office hours rather than get into the nuts and bolts of the different meeting details. And at the bottom, under the meeting options section, there are a couple of things that you may find useful for office hours specifically. And those are this first option to enable people to join before the host, and this third option called Enable Waiting Room. If you're scheduling your office hour meetings, whether you're doing it here on your Zoom account or you do it through your Canvas course, you may want to consider enabling one or both of these options. If you click Enable Join Before Host, what that does is it lets people join your meeting before you do. So if you schedule an office hours Zoom meeting to begin at 1 p.m., your student would be able to click the link at 12:58 and go into the meeting a couple of minutes early. If you leave that unchecked, then if your student tried to do that, they would not be allowed to enter your meeting until 1 p.m. when you begin the meeting. In addition to that, if you enable the waiting room, what that does is it completely prevents people from joining before you begin the meeting. And what it does is it puts them into a waiting room where they have to wait for you to allow them to enter your meeting. So here's a screenshot that I hope will help illustrate what that means. If you enable the waiting room, attendees cannot join a meeting until the host, that's you, admits them individually from the waiting room. And if it's enabled, the option for attendees to join the meeting before is automatically disabled. And if you enable the waiting room and someone joins your meeting, a message very much like the one you see here pops up on the screen when you're in Zoom. So when someone joins the waiting room, it says a student has entered, and it gives you these two options. You can admit them, or you can see who's in the waiting room, and if multiple people were in the waiting room, you could choose whom to admit into your office hours meeting one by one. But it's also entirely possible that you might not want to worry about the waiting room. The main reason why you might want to consider it is if you need to have a private interaction with students during your office hours, like you would in a closed door office meeting. So that's just something to think about. In any event, when you schedule a meeting here in Zoom outside of Canvas and you click Save, what it's going to do is it's going to give you this URL. And that URL is what you would then take into your Canvas course. And let's say I'm going to use my testing playground here. If you scheduled your office hours outside of Zoom, the second step is to tell your students when the office hours are. And probably the best way to do that is to go into Canvas and create a new announcement. So I'm going to go into the announcements page, click the plus announcements button, and then we make an announcement. And this would go out to all the students. This would be visible to all the students when they come in to your Canvas course. So you would type in the title, and then in the description you would type in whatever information you want students to know, in addition to the link, which you would paste in from Zoom. And it's this hyperlink that students would click on to open the Zoom meeting and join you in your office hours. So then when you save the announcement, that would be visible to all of your students on your announcements page. Another option that you have, in addition to using the announcements, would be to go to the inbox and send an email to one or multiple of your courses, including that hyperlink to get to the Zoom meeting for your office hours. This may be a little more complex, but you have a few options for how you want to communicate with your students. If you prefer to communicate with announcements, then I would recommend using that. If you prefer to communicate by email in Canvas, you can send them the URL that way. But whichever option you choose, if you are setting up your office hours in Zoom, the second step will be to come into Canvas and notify your students and give them the link. Another option for setting up office hours is going to be to schedule the meeting in your Canvas courses, and I'll show you that next. So let me look in, again, this Testing Playground course, and in each of your Canvas courses, you now have a Zoom link in the left-hand menu. And when you click that Zoom link, it brings you to a page like this one, which, just like the web page we were just on, has this button to allow you to schedule a new meeting. If you schedule a meeting here, the benefit is that it's a little bit easier for your students in that Canvas course to find the link to join you for your office hours. However, the downside is that it's only visible to students in this Canvas course. So you've got some pros and some cons. But let me show you a couple of other things that are going to help your students if you schedule things in a Canvas course. So the settings are virtually identical when we're in Canvas as they were, if you recall, when we were on Zoom in the web portal there. So I'm going to save this. And now, just like we saw when we saved the meeting before, it gives us the URL. And we could send that to people in an announcement or in an email. However, since we scheduled this in Zoom, one of the nice things that Canvas does is it puts a link to that office hours here on the syllabus page. So as soon as we scheduled this meeting, it's automatically visible here to students. And when we go to the student view, your students can also see the office hours meeting scheduled in their to-do list over on the right-hand side. So there are a couple of different ways that students will see the link and be able to click into it. So that's very useful to help your students find your meeting. However, if you have multiple Canvas courses, you would have to schedule individual office hours in each of your Canvas courses and for each of your different classes. So you might not want to do it this way. If you want office hours to be available to all of your students at the same time, you definitely don't want to schedule them in Canvas like we just saw. Instead, what I would recommend is coming to Zoom, again, utexas.zoom.us, and creating your meetings there, and then copy the URL and post it either in an announcement or in an email to your students from Canvas, or both. So hopefully that makes sense. Those are two of the easier options available to you for scheduling your office hours. And finally, if you have any questions, I am available to help, but the best place to go with your Zoom questions is to come to zoom.its.utexas.edu, that's the page you see here, and email your questions to zoom@utexas.edu. Thanks for watching, everyone.